Harvest Fruits, welcome to the broadcast. We're going to kick off with a remark about Meghan, but that's so that we can get her out of the way and push her off and get on with other royal delights. And we'll finish off with a Keepsake Kaleidoscope. That's what's on the menu today. Delicious fruits of harvest. But first of all, Martha Zarate says, unfortunately, Meghan does not have Catherine's body where everything hangs well. William's pretty well hung as well, isn't he, my dear? Even with clothes from thrift stores, Meghan's stylist has to work harder to find styles that will look good on her. I don't understand, with all the money Harry and Meghan have, they can't seem to find a style that will make her look good. Martha Zarate, you can't French polish a turd. This is what it boils down to. It applies to all of us. You can't be what you ain't. And you'll say, well, River, look at you trussed up there in your fuchsia shocking pink and your jewels and your zebra stripes as if you were born with them. Well, it comes down to context, my dear. This is showbiz. Do you think Liberace would have the great and the good and the bad and the wicked turning up for all his goings-on and all his theatrics without the feathers and the candelabra and the pizzazz? It's about context, my dear. And Rachel Meghan is an attractive girl. No. I don't want to hear all this kind of wickedness about, oh, she looks old and she's this and she's haggard and fagged and all the rest of it, my dear. When you boil it down, she is an attractive gal or woman, you know. She's the girl next door that's meeting middle age, so she's in that crossover point. But her features, when taken separately, are not perfect. Not one single one of them is what you'd call perfect or necessarily to be desired, but the overall impression is more than the sum of her parts, do you understand? Is she a great beauty? No. Was she ever a great beauty? No. Her image has always been girl next door. Maybe girl next door to the girl next door. And now as she moves through the seasons, she is now woman up the road and round the corner next to the dumper truck. But, you know, her features, when you take them separately, aren't necessarily the kind of features that one would jump to the front of the queue in heaven for, to request of God, oh, please, I must have that nose, I must have those teeth, I must have those legs. No. Taken by themselves? No. Not necessarily desirable, but the overall impression is more than the sum of her parts. Do you understand? This is the way it works. And it's the same for me. It's the same for me. When I was coming through, I told you, I used to think that perhaps I should have a nose job. My nose is getting too strong. I wouldn't mind my lips being plumped up a little bit more, or glossy, as they are today. And my eyes, perhaps they're a little too heavy-lidded. You know, one comes up thinking these things about features. Luckily, I had the good sense to see that the way they were put together worked for me, so I never went tweaking with anything. Has she tweaked with a few things here and there? Some say yes, some say no. You can form your own opinion, my dear. But when you go tweaking around too much with what nature furnishes you with, you can go awry. And all over what I'm saying is that many of us are more attractive than the sum of our individual parts that are given to us. When they're all blended into the mix together, you end up with a rather nice dish, don't you? Let's face it, you wouldn't find people queuing up to God, squabbling and fighting over David Gandy's nose, or the teeth of Kate Moss. You wouldn't find people fighting over it, but they are two of God's most beautiful creatures put on this earth, with two of the most heavenly faces that one could hope to see, as well as being two of the most successful supermodels in the world. Do you understand the point I'm trying to make? So she can be dishy, but she doesn't really understand her place, and she doesn't understand her limitations. This is her great mistake, you see. Her mistake is not accepting her limitations. Pouting and strutting, as we saw in Paris, does not a supermodel make, Meghan. It might make for a good contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race, that's absolutely fine, but it does not make one a Naomi Campbell. Not even a Tyra Banks. More like Wendy Williams. So when she aims for high fashion editorial, she looks as if she's raided Mummy's wardrobe or the dressing up box. And granted, that is my aesthetic. here on the show, but that is in context. This is a dressing up box, you understand? This is our fruit basket, isn't it, my dears? And that's what we do. I even have basketeers that tell me they adorn themselves with tiara and brooch just to watch the show, and I love that. Ha ha! I adore it. So, for me, I have the opposite problem to Meghan, because there are times when I would love to blend into the background. Oh, I crave it at times, my dear. I would love to just be invisible and disappear so that nobody notices me, so that the room doesn't stop every time that I walk into it, that traffic doesn't beat a cacophony of orchestrations every time I'm wiggling down the road. I would crave that sort of peace. You understand? I would sometimes really, really pray for it. To go unnoticed. But, I've got the bones, and I've got the figure, and I've got the height. So, what can I do? But I try to play it down. One can try to play it down here or there. But one has to accept one's destiny and one's calling as a beauty. Do you see? And as the talk of the town. One has to accept who one is, and that's me. But that's not Meghan's destiny. Her destiny is the also rat coming through, you see. So, folk like Meghan, they like to think that it's all sunshine and rainbows for the likes of me, having natural allure and a natural sort of glamour that magnetises people. And it can be. There are times when it can be really, really nice and really, really lovely, and it opens a lot of doors. But, it's a cross that some of us have to bear. But that cross can be a heavy burden, a heavy, heavy burden on many of us, and she'll never know that. That is one thing that she'll never, ever know. So think yourself lucky in that respect, Meghan, because that should bring you some peace. You will never know the burden of that sort of model-esque beauty, that statuesque glamour. You will never, ever know that. So think yourself lucky, my dear. Embrace it. Enjoy it. You are naturally invisible, but you pull the stunts of a stunt queen so that you get the attention and you're shown to the world, and they are looking at you. Oh, looking at me. Look, they're looking at me. I'm actually naturally invisible, but I made them all look at me because I'm casting aspersions and spreading my legs as I walk down the street with great big struts on my trotters. But even those of us that the Meghan Markles of this world would try to emulate must know what works and doesn't work for us sartorially. For example, I'm very drawn to bright colours, bold colours, designs, which is one of the reasons I love wearing them for you on the broadcast. It's great fun. And I've got some friends, particularly from the world of art and creativity, a lot of very artistic bohemian friends, and they dress up in all kinds of fancy colours and textures and styles throughout, whether it's designer or charity shop, every day, and it's wonderful. And there's been times when I've tried to do it myself. I can't get away with it. It does not work for me, not in the daytime. Occasionally I can throw on a bright jumper over some black jeans and it'll work okay. But when I really try and be creative and have fun, it just does not work on me in the daytime. Probably because I don't want that kind of attention, so I'm not comfortable with it in my soul. I don't want that kind of vibe going on. So for me, in the daytime, there is a more muted uniform of blacks, whites, greys occasionally. Mainly black though. And even on the evening, depending on the occasion, if there's an exotic cocktail party going on, then I won't be afraid to be unabashed about colour and style and dazzle a bit more. But generally speaking, I will still base the look on black. And then, for example, the other evening, I wore a beautiful sort of burgundy velvet embroidered coat over the top of the black. And it made my eyes ping a little bit more, the green in my eyes, something out to bring the colour and the texture out there. But what I'm telling you, my dear, and what I'm saying to you is that, all of us, whether we're Meghan Markle or Marilyn Monroe, have a limitation as to what works and what doesn't. And she's not aware of hers, and she keeps trying to reach over the line, and that is why she keeps looking absolutely ridiculous wherever she goes and whatever she does. So if anything is going to be her downfall commercially, by the way, it will be that clash between what she could flog very successfully and naturally to her, sort of cheap, middle-of-the-road basics, and perfume, perhaps, between that and her aspiration for the luxury market and having that sort of influence, you see, which is what she desperately craves, because she wants that sort of acceptance from that part of the industry. So she's worming her way in via Balenciaga of all brands. So, I mentioned perfume. She should have actually kicked off with perfume if she wanted to make a great big splash, because it's very cheap to make. You can mark it up a hell of a lot and get it out to people. People enjoy buying it. She should have begun off with that. And actually, I think I might have shared a wisp with you months and months ago that it has been in development, and I'm still getting those whispers coming through and that talk. And I shall tell you, although it probably means that it'll never happen, one of the names of the perfume that have been come forward that I actually rather like is the name Story. I'm thinking that storyteller, they should have called it. Yeah, Story. She's always talking about her story here, there, and everywhere. This is just something that I've been told by somebody fairly in the know from those quarters. Story by Meghan Markle. Maybe that'll be the name of her memoir as well. But I would propose for her perfume the name High Heaven. What do you think of that, my dear? I think that's a wonderful name for a fragrance, isn't it? High Heaven. Because, just like that French polished turd, she stinks to it. Did you enjoy the vision of kingdoms coming together in goodwill as Crown Prince Hussein, heir to the throne of Jordan, and Princess Rajwa reunited with the Prince and Princess of Wales at Windsor? It was a glamorous vision. You might recall the Waleses attending their wedding a couple of years ago, and I think Princess Beatrice joined them as well. They have a very close bond with the Waleses and the Yorkies. Princess Rajwa is a very attractive lady, isn't she? She certainly is. I'm not personally a fan of white shirts erupting out of black suit bustiers, because it looks like a cross-dressing schoolboy caught in the act. And I should know. Demure Catherine wore a blazer and trousers by Roland Moret in the gorgeous colour Sand. Isn't it delicious? I really enjoyed it. And she paired it with a Burberry ivory silk crepe de chine, a tie-neck blouse, and it looks as if she's got no feet, doesn't it? I can assure you, they do exist, those trotters, and they were clad in her gold Ralph Laurens. And then it was to RAF Benson in Oxfordshire, where there was a special afternoon spent meeting the team and introducing them to the Crown Prince. There were lots of William's old chums around, and he had time to reminisce with his former colleagues, and he told them that flying is my happy place. As you might recall, he served with the RAF Search and Rescue Force, and he keeps his hours up, he told us. He's still a pilot, and as a pilot for that force, he carried out 156 search and rescue operations, resulting in 149 people being rescued. What a hero our future king is. And he told everyone assembled that it was the noise from the Sea King helicopters overheard during the recent state visit that set off a lot of memories for him, and he said the noise went straight to my heart, calling his time with the service glory days. Our lion-hearted king in the making. And it was from flight to fire as we progressed to Northern Ireland, and the Waleses put on a fabulous show. Now, was Catherine going blonde a couple of weeks ago, or did we dream it? Did we imagine it, my dear? I mean, she still does have some of that blondness left in the main, but it seems to be returning, thankfully, to more of a brunette look, doesn't it? I'm quite glad to say that the lemon juice of summer has squeezed its last, and the brown rinse is reinstated. The colourway this time was Olive by McQueen, and Cupid hoops to the lobes with baby shamrock charms. This was at Northern Ireland Fire and Rescue Service's new Learning and Development College in Cookstown, where there's lots of training and opportunities for the youngsters of Northern Ireland to train and evolve into the next generation of firefighters. The brown suede boots epitomised chic autumn in the kingdom. Oh, come on, Katie, give it a tug, girl, give it a tug. Ha ha! Man overboard! Oh, it's like the Romsey Rapids. And I especially appreciated this commoner wearing this dark fuchsia ensemble of pink shoes, coat and headband, and adornments. Very royal. And then the royal caravan progressed to County Tyrone and Malon Farm, where tradition meets innovation in the revival of Northern Ireland's flax to linen heritage, from field to fibre to fabric. Helen and Charlie are building a sustainable local supply chain that celebrates creativity, collaboration and care for the environment. It was a wonderful example of a positive, future-focused Northern Ireland. And isn't it cosy in there with the stringed lights? Beautiful. And it's so difficult, don't you find, my dears, to find attractive bulbs in this LED age? It's driving me absolutely bananas, my dear. I've got chandeliers to hang, and I don't like the bulbs that are coming on through. I can hardly use candles for it, can I? This isn't the days of Cinderella fairy tales. But it's a quiz. It's a real quiz. And I must praise Catherine for doing what the Harkles tell us that they do, and that is showing up and doing good. Because let's remember, it was just a short time ago that she was under great suffering, and she still is in many ways, but she is showing up, putting her best foot forward and getting on with things with a stiff upper lip and much elegance. I especially enjoyed the apples in the trees and the baskets, fruits of the fall in County Armagh at Longmeadow Cider. Longmeadow Cider is a family-run farm blending tradition with innovation to create award-winning ciders and juices. Ooh, scrumptious, scrumptious, scrumpy. And they made Granny's griddle bread. Yes, they make this bread using potato and using apples. How delicious. Wouldn't you love a bite? This business is 3 generations strong. The McKeevers are growing opportunity and sustainability at the heart of Orchard County, as it's known. She wore a waxed jacket by Barbara and a Ralph Lauren tweed skirt. She's wearing a lot of Ralph Lauren lately, isn't she? She's really getting into the vibe. She wore some for the state visit. I do like a lot of Ralph Lauren stuff, actually, and I like a lot of their decor, and I like Ralph Lauren's home. It's a real fantasy. I like it when the designer gives a fantasy, but the one thing I don't like is logos all over the place, that polo logo. I've seen jackets of theirs sometimes which have been okay, and blazers, but they've got that ruddy logo all over everything, or even the word polo, or I'm afraid logos and designer names on clothes is something that I find incredibly vulgar. No offence to any of you, I'm sure that most of you have some sort of item or accessory with a name or a logo. Most people do. Even the late Queen had her black handbag with the Lorna logo, didn't she? But that was rather discreet. Some of them are okay if they're very, very discreetly done. I just don't believe in wearing and displaying the crests of other families. That's for the servants and for the footmen. It's for staff. Never trust those men coming through who insist on having to have the name of various designers emblazoned on their scanties. Now, it doesn't matter if it's done discreetly, but you know the types that they like to lower their belt so that they have the designer name, Calvin Klein's name, or Dolce & Gabbana, adorning their private parts. It's usually the name of some gay designer. I bet they never even told Marky Mark that when he was hanging out, and everything was hanging out with Kate Moss in those adverts. You know exactly whose name is emblazoned on there, usually the name of some homosexual designer, which is all very well and good, but why are they so keen to have you looking down and reading names above their private parts? What are they trying to distract from? It's all very curious, isn't it? Keep things simple. It's fine wearing the designer gear. I mean, there's plenty that I wish I could afford, my darling, but I certainly can't afford to furnish everything with the wildest luxury of cashmeres, which I'd love to do. I'd absolutely love to do, but so I've got no problem with that. But brandishing the name is so vulgar all over the place, and toting it around in your handbag. Oh, what's my Birkin? Nothing puts me off more. Unless you're a really eccentric, fabulous character, and there are some occasions where you will find, for example, a Chanel top with a million logos saying Chanel all over the jacket, and it's done in a sort of funky, eccentric style. There are ways of pulling it off, you know, but just sort of flaunting in a Kardashian-esque manner is utterly infra-dig. Camilla is becoming queen of the parties, isn't she? She's hosting several of them every week, tirelessly, because it's always tied to her work, and good causes, of course. In this case, she was shaking hands with Floella Benjamin, kissy kissy Dame Floella, and also, very exciting, with Peter Rabbit, who was looking so dapper in that blue jacket of his. My first ever role on the stage, at the age of perhaps 4.5, in the school play, was not as Peter Rabbit, but in The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. They put that on at school, but it was the year above me, or 2 years above me. But they ran out of casting for Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail. They had Peter and all the rest of the cast, but they needed the 3 little bunnies that didn't really have to speak, but just sort of squeak or whatever bunnies do. And I played one of them. I think I played Cottontail, or was it Mopsy? I can't remember which one. Time has diluted the memory, but it was really rather sweet. It's one of the few things I haven't got any photographs of, actually. But I remember wearing white vest and underwear, white vest and pants, with one of those homemade fluffy tails on the back, made out of 2 cardboard rings, like donut-shaped rings that you wind yarn around and cut them all up and they become a fluffy tail. Did you have any of them? And they were stitched into my underwear. We hopped around. So cute to think of. But that was my introduction to the world of Beatrix Potter. Nice memory there. Flopsy, Mopsy, Cocktail and Darling Peter. This was at Clarence House, celebrating that 100th anniversary of Book Trust, which is the kingdom's largest children's reading charity. And Book Start has provided a book from the Beatrix Potter series of storybooks to every child in the kingdom before their first birthday. Isn't that wonderful? This year, a brand new Peter Rabbit title, 4 Happy Bunnies, has been created exclusively for the scheme. It will be given to 500,000 babies and their families across the kingdom to encourage them to start reading in collaboration with Random Penguins. Our dear friends at Penguin Random House, who published Spare. Well, business is business, isn't it, my dear? But you don't want to go messing with Random Penguins. Well, this was right up my street, because how much of my time do I spend telling you how much I love autumn and the harvest? You must get sick and bored of it, my dear, but I do love the harvest. I'm in heaven this time of year. Oh, it's just wonderful not to be absolutely sweltering or totally freezing. It's just wonderfully mellow at the moment. Had a wonderful walk this morning at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Nice early morning walk, and it was warm out there. But the leaves were burning crimsons and yellows and greens and browns and a little bit of blue. Magical colours come through violets this time of year. I've got to make the most of it, darling. Got to make the most. We don't know how many autumns God will grant us, do we? That's one thing that always comes to mind every year during harvest and the autumn that I enjoy so much. How many will I be blessed with? We never know if it's our final one or whether there are many to come, so we have to remember to enjoy them, don't we? Because the circle turns so quickly, so very quickly. Queen Camilla attended the National Harvest Festival service at Westminster Abbey, and the King said, "Today is a most wonderful way to celebrate our Lord's bounty through this year's National Harvest Service in the magnificent setting of Westminster Abbey. It is a time of year to give thanks to the custodians of our land in a tradition that stretches back centuries, yet remains ever relevant. Their labour is the foundation of our food production, the heartbeat of rural communities, and vital to the protection of the natural landscapes we all treasure so dearly." And he went on to mention that great harvest-tide hymn, "All good gifts around us are sent from heaven above." Now, if you're from the kingdom, and I'm sure beyond, for those of you who know your hymns, you'll know that in schools up and down the kingdom, these wonderful school assembly hymns were more or less mandatory. Everybody sung them, everybody knew them. And this is one of the things that many of us miss in the kingdom over the last decade or two. When you speak to the children coming through, many of them have dropped hymns from their schools because, it offends all the other multi-faiths that are coming along, and it's fallen out of fashion. But it's such a great shame, because these are the things that are so unifying in a nation. This is what makes up a nation. It's what a nation is. And there is a real lack of gelling going on with anything that is familiar to our culture. But I know many of you will remember and rejoice in the memory of autumn days when the grass is jewelled and the crisp inside a chestnut shell. Wasn't that a fabulous one, my dear? And they have a few of these on YouTube, by the way. And as soon as the piano strikes up, it brings back the memory of those wonderful school assemblies, my dear. Give me oil in my lamp, Keep Me Burning, do you remember that one? Lord of the Dance. One more step along the world I go.
One more step along the world I go. One more step
And another favourite of mine, cauliflower's fluffy and cabbage is green. Wonderful. The service was organised by Love British Food, with leading food distribution charities on World Food Day. The Queen met representatives from the food charity and admired the floral and fresh food displays. Warm, warm memories of the idyllic harvest festivals that used to take place as I grew up. In my little parish school with a parish church just a few feet away down the road, we would walk from the school to the parish church with a partner from a couple of years above us, so they'd be looking after you. You'd hold hands with your partner, you'd all trot down to the parish church, you'd be bearing and carrying a couple of tins of produce, canned produce, to give to the poor. You'd stack them all up in the church. We had a rector in our church. He was a drunk. He was a famous alcoholic. I didn't know that at the time, but explained a few things I found out afterwards. Of course, I went on to sing in the choir, and that's where you hear all the gossip, my dear, and feature in some of it. But yeah, fabulous memories, warm memories. You know, we had that at this time of year. Then when it came to Christmas, you'd stuff your pomander with cloves, and you'd have, what are they called? Chris Tingles? Something along that, my dear. Those things. And before Meghan Markle starts crying her eyes out with one tear left eye because nobody's asked her if she's okay, and the bottom lip of hers begins to tremble. Nobody asked me if I was okay. The bottom lip starts to tremble, doesn't it? Well, I'm sorry, Meghan, darling, but you've been outdone. You think your big bottom lip can tremble? Well, you ought to meet the proud and indigenous Brazilian leader and environmentalist chief that we see here at this reception for the CBA, which is a Circular Bioeconomy Alliance, what a mouthful, at St James's Palace, where the King joined scientists, business leaders and indigenous voices. This organisation was established by Charles just 5 years ago, and this evening followed a day of vital discussion exploring the relationship between nature and human health, bringing together experts from all across the globe to share knowledge and innovative solutions. And our very busy king welcomed another world leader. This was the president of Fiji, and this was at Buckingham Palace, reaffirming the enduring friendship between the new nations. Once a British colony, Fiji retains many British influences in its governance, legal system and institutions. Like most desirable and civilised nations, they retain much of our influence, don't they? Because it all came from us. Let's just remember this and make a point of it. It all came from us. Dear old Blighty and these shores. Yes, our tiny little island. Yes, everyone's got us to thank for it. And let's be proud of it, my dears. And the Magna Carta? Remember a little thing called the Magna Carta? The fountainhead of individual freedom, liberty, parliamentary democracy, the rights to a fair trial, protection from illegal imprisonment, all from us. By Royal Charter, sealed by King John. And if you're wondering what was under discussion between the King and the President of Fiji, it's nobody else's affair, do you understand? This is the King's business. Nobody else needs to be privy to the private audience given to the President of Fiji and the conversation of His Majesty. Nobody needs to know, so keep your beak out. At Australia House, the King commemorated the 40th anniversary, 40 years since the handback of Uluru to its traditional owners. And they say we don't give them anything. What are they talking about? The King met traditional owners who travelled from Australia with the support of the High Commission to mark this historic occasion. The 40th anniversary will be held at a sunrise site with a public celebration concert on the 25th. And it is always a pleasure to remark upon Prince Richard and his work as the Duke of Gloucester, and he took a tour of Appleby Blue Almshouses, hosted by United St Saviours, who provide almshouses and grants out of Southwark. This striking new development has been shortlisted for the Rebus Sterling Prize, that's the Royal Institute of British Architects, and the Duke of Gloucester met residents living independently in this inspiring new community. Almshouses, by the way, in case you're wondering, are low-cost, affordable housing provided for vulnerable people or those in housing need, provided by local charities, you see. And actually, this is interesting to me because I thought that almshouses only existed historically. I didn't realise that they were still being created. So this is very interesting for me to see, because I'm interested in them because a gentleman that I've known since childhood, an elderly gentleman, lives in one. He lives in the almshouses on or just off of Balls Pond Road, next to Dalston, very hip, happening Dalston, and he loves it. He loves the life of the almshouses. It's a splendid community. They sort of have all these little cottages around a courtyard. It's a sort of haven off of the beaten track of Balls Pond Road, the bustling Balls Pond Road. And it's the most wonderful place where everyone looks out for each other. They all live sort of independently, but have this wonderful sort of retirement community, this village, and it's affordable. And it seems like a lovely way to live and share community. So this was interesting for me. But having said that, I can only compare and contrast to the way it was done in the old days and say that this new building, as much as it's being celebrated by the Royal Institute of British Architects, is fucking ugly. What a hideous monstrosity. Rip it down. Okay, now, for a Keepsake Kaleidoscope, it's been many weeks since we had the last one, I think, and all of the keepsakes that I offered to you months ago now, wasn't it? It must have been January, probably January, when I offered them to you, and I only offered them once and then I had to shut it down because I was just overwhelmed with requests for a keepsake. It's taken me all these months, so what's that, 10 months, to send them out to everybody that requested one, which I wasn't sure I'd be able to do, but because I took my time getting through them, they should now all be received. If we've been in contact with you and you haven't received yours yet and you're expecting it, let us know, but you should have done that by now, really. They should all have been received, and if you submitted a photograph to show your keepsake and the souvenirs on display, then you should have seen them on the show. I should have presented the photograph to everyone, including today's show. So here we have a display from Mikey, which was a surprise gift from his pal called Jack. Isn't that a sweet gift? We had a few of those, people contacting me requesting a keepsake because they wanted to surprise other people. But Jack had said, Mike or Mikey loves River and turned me on to her. He received it and is thrilled. I'm so glad he was thrilled by it, dear. And there was this charming vignette with a silver tray, a figurine, an attractive lamp and standing lamp. Lovely there. I love having this little nosy peek into the dwelling places of Basketeers, don't you, my dear? Then there's Petra in Germany, who said, Dear Miss Fairfax, the keepsake has safely arrived and cheered up my heart. I place the keepsake next to the head of Michelangelo's David, who wears, in reminiscence to the late Queen, a 3-strand pearl necklace with a bow brooch. Lovely bow brooch. My mother used to have one of those, actually. Thank you so much for your efforts, with love from Germany. You're welcome, my dear. David looks magnificent there, doesn't he, in his pearls and brooch? Gorgeous. And then to Cherie, from the county of Londonderry, Northern Ireland. Cherie. Dear River and Miss Fairfax, I have received my keepsake. I have included a picture, which I hope you will like. The picture also includes a cup to celebrate the crowning of Queen Elizabeth II, a piece of Moorcraft pottery from the 90s, a corgi decoration purchased on a visit to Buckingham Palace, a glorious experience, and lastly, my mother's pearls and my pearl earrings are balanced on your message. The keepsake is beautiful, meaningful, and amazingly personal. Warmest regards, Cherie. That's lovely to hear, and thank you for sharing the beautiful image, my dear. Now we come to Raquel, who said that the keepsake and the souvenirs were a perfect choice, and she paired it with dusky blooms that matched one of the souvenirs, and some rose quartz there, I see. Lovely, Raquel, lovely, dear. And then we have Courtney, who provided this, lovely frame, and yes, one of the souvenirs there, my dear, had this motto for 1880, which seemed to be a popular craze all those decades ago. And so there's that one, and it made me remember I've got one by my bedside. It was the motto for 1885, 5 years later. And it was one of those that I'd intended to give away with the keepsakes as a souvenir, but because it mentioned fruit, I couldn't bear to. And I rather like the saying, Christ, who is our life, from me is thy fruit found, that I may win Christ and be found in him. A fruit of Australia, Nicole provided this photograph with very pretty crockery there. I love the beautiful gold jubilee flowers. What a gorgeous colour. Gorgeous colourways there in the pink teacup and saucer. So cheerful. Dear River and Miss Fairfax, thank you so much for the wonderful mementos now proudly displayed in the royal section of my china cabinet. I love your show with all things royal and vintage all the way from Gunnedah, Australia. Cindy is next. And Cindy, my dear, I never thought that I would see the day that a headband was hanging from a vine with me underneath atop a seashell shrine. That is a vision that I never thought I'd see. But it certainly tickled me. I'm agoraphobic with crippling anxiety. I'm sorry to hear that, my dear. I love to take the outside and bring it in with me. I look forward to the beautiful outfits, the lovely tiaras, and honest grit and humour that only River can deliver. I just want you to know, River, you've helped this girl a lot, even across the world. I know that you're special to all of us. I'm so proud to be a basketeer. Let's not forget your best line, and it's my favourite. Get it? Got it? Good. Thank you, Cindy, dear. And I don't like coming over all schmaltzy too often, because it's rather unpalatable, isn't it? But I have to, every so often, just say that, I'm so fortunate, so lucky to get not only messages like this in response to the Keepsake, but every single day from so many of you in response to my shows. Hundreds of you tell me in very deep and meaningful ways that I bring joy to your day and to your life. Give you a giggle, a moment's escape. That's my only objective, really, my dear. It's made just to bring a little bit of fruitfulness, fruitiness, and fruity fun to your day and offer you a bit of company. Because life can be bleak, and we have to try and find a bit of fun and a bit of joy, don't we? All of us, and that includes me. So you bring it to me, and it seems that I'm serving it to you, my dear. So just know that even though I can't respond to all of you, can't be busy mates with all of you, we get the best of each other in this way, don't we, my dear? And just know that I hear you when you give me the touching messages, tell me how much you appreciate me. It's reciprocal. Lisa, well, I've never been in a planner before, but this time I am. I'm in a planner, a finder facts. Lisa says that she takes me to work with her on the daily. Isn't that wonderful? I've got visions of you like my hero, Tess McGill from Working Girl now, on the ferry from Staten Island. Finder facts in hand, my dear, taking your river. River delivers. Yes, I even come in finder facts. Finder facts and Fairfax. Wouldn't that be a wonderful company name? Somebody's going to do it, aren't they? Thank you, Lisa, dear. Then another Australian, Deb from Victoria, said, I was so thrilled to receive my keepsake. River will always be my very favourite YouTuber. And there I am under crystal wand protection. Many of you display me with your crystals. I feel very protected all across the globe. I've got shrines popping up on every continent, every foot of empire, and beyond. I'll be on the moon next, won't I? I'll be interplanetary. Wonderful to see you all. Stay fruity and always on royal duty. Toodle pip.